Hello everyone and welcome to another Everton Show, our very first one of 2016, and the calendar year has certainly got off to an exciting start, hasn't it, for the Blues? We're still catching our breath from Wednesday night. Ian Snowden is alongside me. What a night.
Thoroughly enjoyed that one, really did. The atmosphere were fantastic, the performance were fantastic, some great individual performances, and don't come any better than that. Hopefully it will in 3 weeks' time, though.
We deserved the win, didn't we?
We did deserve the win. Man City started the game very well, but I thought we grew into it and then we dominated the game.
It really was a terrific night of cup football at Goodison Park. We'll have a proper look back on a terrific night of Capital One Cup football very shortly, and we'll also be hearing from these people.
I didn't think we deserved to concede, to be honest, but we're delighted in there, and we know that we've got another 90 minutes at their place.
Everton is a big club, and it's a good manager, Mr. Martinez, and I'm happy to be here to train with this team.
Obviously on the bench against Spurs, not had too many training sessions yet, but it's a busy time of the year, especially with still being in the cup and things. It's pretty much a game every 3 days now for the remainder of the month, so it's nice to be back in the mix.
Clearly the reputation of the academy and delivering players through the academy to the first teams and others throughout Europe are just outstanding and very well regarded.
Our quality will only show if we match their intensity and their work rate and their commitment. So the game doesn't change, we've still got to get the best out of our players. What 11 starts on Saturday.
Let's start with the semi-final snods, and City were quick out the traps, weren't they?
Yeah, you expect that. They've got some quality players. I know they haven't been playing brilliantly of late, but the players that they've got, Silva, Yaya Toure, Aguero, they just roll off the tongue. They're an exceptional team. But I thought once Mo Bezic and Barry got a grip of midfield, then they were outstanding, them two for us. I thought it was a fantastic all-round team performance. And you're right, deserved to win the game without a question.
And also off the pitch, it took the crowd a little while to get warmed up, but when they did, they were terrific.
Yeah, it did, and it just shows the importance, how important they are to us as a football team. When you're the 12th man, you really are the 12th man, and they got behind us, give us some great backing. And I tell you what, it was rocking Goodison, especially in that second half.
You could feel it bouncing, couldn't you? Even from the commentary position in the press box. Well, for a few weeks now, Roberto Martinez has been insisting that Everton are not too far away from being a winning team. The boss has been as frustrated as the rest of us at the inability to see winning positions through to the end. But on Wednesday night, again, just like the rest of us, he was absolutely delighted with what he'd seen from his players.
It's a performance that, as an Evertonian and from a manager's point of view, you're delighted. I think the football that we played, the atmosphere that it was created at Goodison was special. It was a big football occasion, and that was the start of a really impressive performance from every player of our team. I think it was a day that we had to play well. I thought we defended extremely well against a really talented Manchester City side. But then on top, the last 25 minutes in the first half, we had an incredible intent going forward, scoring 2 goals that they were disallowed correctly, and then scoring a very good goal. And we were a team ready to cope with whatever was thrown at us. We lost Tom Cleverley at half-time, and that never affected our performance. Then we lost Romelu Lukaku with a knock on his ankle, and even we had to play for the last period of the game with 10 men, and the way we showed maturity, we kept the ball, we just make sure that we won the game was very impressive. On top of that, you look in the only time that we got punished too heavily, just trying to score another goal in a corner, and in the counter-attack, Man City took advantage of that. And is a real test at that point, is how you react, and the team has got an incredible winning mentality, and to get that winning goal from open play was extremely pleasing, very fitting for a very mature performance, but overall a terrific footballing occasion. And now we need to take that feeling into the second leg at the Etihad.
Well, a lot of the spotlight on Wednesday night was shining directly into the face of John Stones. The youngster was not only up against Sergio Aguero, he was being urged by just about everyone to be part of a much tighter back line. Stonesy did his job and more on the night, and after the game he spoke to Everton TV.
I didn't think we deserved to concede, to be honest, but we're delighted in there, and we know that we've got another 90 minutes at their place.
Is that the best atmosphere you've known since you've been here at Everton, at Goodison?
It's up there, definitely, yeah. The fans are great every week, and I know they have good banter with the other team's fans, and it's great to hear them get behind us when we score, and you know, as I say, they're a 12th man.
And the response to the equaliser from ourselves was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Gaz whips a good ball in, and Rom's on the end of it as always, really. But yeah, great response. And as I say, I didn't think we deserved to concede, so it was a bit of, you know, I thought we should have been 2-0 up.
You don't want anyone else apart from Rom on the end of a cross like that. Perfect for him.
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's on form and can't stop scoring, and we're loving watching from the back anyway. And you know, it's great to see him getting on the end of things. And you know, I think Rom's brought a lot more to his game, and in the last few months he's been brilliant for us and a key player. So you know, it's great that he's scoring, and we're all thrilled to bits for him.
We've got the 2-1 advantage, but they've got the away goal. How do you see this tie now going into the second leg in a few weeks' time?
I think it's there for the grabs, really. We can be confident after that. I mean, we were down to 10 men last, God knows how long, but I thought we dominated when we had 10 men. So I think we've got a lot of confidence to take into the next game against them, really.
And it makes it interesting that we've got to go there in the league before we go there in the second leg.
Definitely, I think they'll be not looking forward to playing us both times, really. As I say, tonight I thought we were brilliant, and it's been coming, I think, and as I say, I think we can take it to their ground and hopefully do it twice.
Snods, in the previous home game, Stonesy got a little bit of stick from the crowd. He was under a bit of pressure against Manchester City, up against world-class players, and done ever so well.
He don't surprise me. Yeah, he got a little bit of stick for not getting rid of the ball. He still had it in possession, and there's a couple of times I've said in commentary, just clear it, John, and that's what the fans were. But he's that confident in his own ability that he don't need to. John Stones is an exceptional player. That's why he's worth a lot of money to this football club, and that's why we want to keep him, because he's an exceptional player. And to play against Aguero, I thought him and Funes Mori did exceptionally well. Didn't really give him much of a sniff at that goal the other night, and yeah, I think he's a top player, there's no question about it.
And you've been saying for a while that Ramiro Funes Mori has got a goal in him and should be making a contribution at the other end, and he did.
Do you know what? When you put the ball in the right areas from free kicks and corner kicks, he's a nuisance. He goes and attacks the ball. He wants to score goals. All right, this one come off the keeper and he followed up like a centre forward, to be honest, but he celebrated like an Evertonian. He went to that corner flag and he loved it. All the applaudits, all the boys ran over to him. The crowd was right behind him. He enjoyed that one.
One word, are we going to Wembley?
Of course we are.
Absolutely. That was 3 words, but we'll take that anyway. Well, we've got 3 weeks to wait now until the second leg of the Capital One Cup semi-final, so try, if you can, to put any thought of Wembley out of your minds and concentrate on the Premier League and, of course, the FA Cup that starts this weekend for Everton. Our most recent Premier League game was at Goodison Park against Tottenham, and it was a good one. This is what Leighton Baines made of a keenly contested 1-1 draw.
Both sides obviously went for the win, and, you know, we're trying to get the 3 points, you know, but I thought both sides had spells where they looked the more likely. I thought we finished the game quite strong, but you know, it opened up and you know, could have went either way, and I think a point's probably fair.
Yeah, we just ran out of time there towards the end, then we created a few chances late on.
Yeah, we did. We've always got that in our locker, really, especially when teams are committing themselves going forward. You know, quick on the break, and you know, we attack with decent numbers, and we've always got a chance of catching teams out like that. And I'd say it was looking like we might have nicked it a couple of times, but in the end, you know, we come away with a point. We'd have liked the 3, but I'd say probably a fair result.
You had a bit of a break a few days ago against Stoke, back in today, obviously pleasing for you that?
Yeah, of course, you know, want to get out there and play. You know, a lot of games coming up, so we've got a big squad, lots of players on the bench and not making the bench as well. We've got great strength and depth at the moment, and you know, the manager's got decisions to make for all the games. I'm sure he'll keep making changes, and you know, hopefully whoever does come in can do a good job for the team.
Obviously, you've only just recently come back from injury in the last few weeks. Is it still a case of managing it very carefully?
I am still in that phase a little bit. Yeah, you know, we're managing it on a daily basis, and you know, but it's not too different to a lot of players. You know, you get to a point, and you know, there's very few players who are playing injury free at any one time. So. There's still an element of that, but obviously the most important thing is that I try to keep on top of things and be available for the manager for as many games as possible.
How much are the lads looking forward to what is clearly a big game now on Wednesday evening against Manchester City?
It's a great game. It's a really exciting game for us to be involved in. Something we're all looking forward to. And as I say, it's a busy time for us coming up, and you know we've got to do everything right off the pitch as well, in terms of our recovery and our preparation in between the games, to make sure that you know we leave no stone unturned, and you know we give it everything in order to try and make it to the final.
Snods, this fellow is a class act on and off the pitch. What did you make of Bainesy on Wednesday night?
I thought he was terrific. I thought he was back to his best, and it's going to take him 3 or 4 games. I thought against Tottenham, they pushed Kyle Walker up to prevent Leighton coming forward, so they did their own work. But I thought against Man City, he were back to his best. He were overlapping, he were putting great balls in, feeding great balls into Big Rom as well. Leighton Baines is a class act, and I feel a little bit sorry for Galloway. He's been outstanding for us while he's filled in, but he is England's number 3 in my eyes, and he's certainly Everton's best fullback. So, best left back. So I think he's back to his best.
He certainly is. Great to see Leighton Baines back in the fold. And that neatly wraps up part 1 of this week's programme. We'll take a short break right now, but we'll be back very shortly to hear from 2 young players who we hope will be the Everton stars of the future. Welcome back to the second part of the first Everton show of the year. Well, the fixture schedule may have been a bit chaotic recently, but the recruitment policy down at Finch Farm has continued unabated. It has to, doesn't it? And a couple of young players have put pen to paper in the last 7 days, one from Switzerland and one from Bury. Poles apart geographically, but both with the same ambitions. First off, let's hear from Swiss under-21 striker Shani Tarashaj.
Yes, was every time a dream for me to play here in Everton, to sign here. I'm proud and I'm happy to be here, yes.
What do you know of Everton? What do you know of English football?
Yeah, it's a good football, it's fast, and Everton is a big club, and it's a good manager, Mr. Martinez, and I'm happy to be here to train with his team, with his trainer, to work.
You've been playing for Grasshoppers in Switzerland. Are you having a good season so far?
Yes, we played a very good season till now, and we are second, and I hope we can end this season second or third.
When did you find out that Everton were interested in you?
This was 2 or maybe three months ago. I hear from my manager that Everton is interesting, and yeah, now I'm here.
And you've obviously met Roberto Martinez. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I heard he's a good player. He's a good trainer and manager. He works with the young guys, with the players, individuality, and this is what I need, what I want to be better, come better.
And how would you describe yourself as a player?
Difficult. No, I'm fast. I have a good shot, and I think I can help Everton.
It's another interesting one, isn't it, Snods? He scores goals for the Swiss under-21 side, so we don't know too much about Shani Tarashaj, but must be a decent player.
Yeah, it must be. As you said, we don't know that much about him, but I think obviously the scouts have been watching him regular, and he's been doing well for his club. He plays under-21 for his country, so I think the scouting policy at Everton is fantastic. So they'll have seen a lot of him, Daz. We've got great recruitment going around. Not only have we got a fantastic academy, but when we're bringing in to look like, we brought Galloway in, we brought Allgate in, brought the young lad from Bury in, Foulds as well, this boy now. So yeah, it's great that we've got a good academy, but we've also got to be recruiting good players from other clubs.
It's a big step up for Shani, but he's been loaned back to Grasshopper, which will give him half a season to get used to the whole concept of coming to the Premier League.
Yeah, it'll give him a concept to being an Everton player as well. He's now an Everton player gone on loan to his current club. So it's great that he will continue playing, and it will take him a long time, well, not a long time hopefully, but it'll take him a year or two to get to the pace of the Premier League, and hopefully he can push forward and be part of a good Everton squad in the future.
And while he's back at Switzerland, He's got to finish his national service.
Yeah, quite interesting. Some of our youngsters should be doing national service, but no, I think it's great. He's gone back there, and it's fantastic for him. But he'll come back a lot stronger player and an Everton player.
He seems like a nice lad as well, another one. And 5 goals in 8 appearances for the Swiss under-21 side is a more than decent return for Shani Tarashaj, and although he's doubtless still got plenty to learn about the centre-forward's art, Roberto Martinez is relishing the chance to help him along.
Well, Shani is a phenomenal young talent. He's a player that I'm delighted that we've been able to attract, because clearly we've done it early enough to show him what we are as a football club. He came to watch our game at home at Goodison, and straight away he felt something that attached him to our crowd and the feeling of the way that we leave the games. And then as a footballer, very talented. He's got a real strong lower body, technically very gifted. He's got a real goal scoring threat. He can play on the left hand side, coming inside into his favourite right foot. But what impressed me more than anything is that mentality that he has, very similar to Mo Besic. They're desperate to take information. They wanna learn quickly, but he's got an enormous talent, and I'm delighted, because as a football club, to be able to go for someone so quickly before he's gone to a bigger bargaining situation with other clubs has been very pleasing for every corner. He's going to have to go back. We're going to send him back to Grashoppers on loan, where he's going to benefit from that period. He's doing the army service in Switzerland, and that's why he cannot join us straight away. But for us to know that he's going to be an Everton player straight away now in January is a really exciting signing for the future.
We've seen a couple of Swiss players come into the Premier League. Is he similar to any that have come in?
No, I think being right-footed, he brings a goal-scoring threat. He's got a real good eye, technically very gifted, controls the ball really well, he combines really well, and is someone that he hasn't made his full senior debut yet for Switzerland, but it's something that I would expect once he gets a big role with our football club. He's been very impressive with the under-21s. He's someone that he brings swagger and arrogance in his play, but he would fit in really well in the way that we want to play, and is a talented young man with an incredible hunger and desire to play at Goodison.
Snods, Roberto doesn't just enjoy recruiting young players, he's got a passion for the development of young players, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and that's what us fans, and I call myself a fan, we tend to forget. We want results now, but in 2 or 3 years' time, the players that have been recruited will be future Everton players for years to come, hopefully. So, yeah, Roberto is very passionate on bringing the right young players to this football club for the future as well.
And as a striker, he couldn't be at a better environment. Graham Jones was a centre forward. Duncan we know all about. Franny Jeffers and Phil Jevons are down there, depending on what level the boy operates at.
Well, if you can't learn off any of them, for Jevo, Franny Jeffers, obviously at U-team level, I'm sure they'll have some input with him. But then Graham Jones, the assistant manager. But last but not least, Duncan Ferguson. If you can't learn off him, he'll be a totally different player looking at his build and the way he plays. But I'm sure he can learn loads of things off Big Duncan along the way.
Hopefully plenty to come in the future from Shani. Right, from the Alps of Switzerland now to the hills of Yorkshire. Our next youngster, Snods will be delighted to know, is from the White Rose country. Born in Bradford, Matty Foulds made his professional football breakthrough in Lancashire, though, with Bury. He's a 17-year-old defender who first agreed terms with the Blues back in November, meaning it was a long wait before he signed officially on January the 2nd.
Feels exciting to be part of the club. It's been a long wait, so now I'm part of it, get going again.
Yeah, because your transfer was announced in November, and you've just been waiting for the paperwork to actually be completed and you become a player when the transfer window opened.
Yeah, the 2nd of January is a great day for me because it's officially signed. Been waiting since November to get everything through so I can start playing games again.
So what's the last 5-6 weeks involved for you? Because you've played a few games, a couple of games, sorry, for the one for the under-18s and one for the under-21s.
Because I had a little bit of period of time off over the transfer, I've been trying to get myself back fit, match fit. Because I played the 18s, felt fit then, and played the 21 game. I felt fit then, so I was just getting myself back fitter than I was.
And how did you find those games? Because of course you've got to get to know your new teammates.
It's quite tough at the start, like 18s games, never played with them, don't really know them. So it's quite difficult, that game. And 21, because I've been in and around them for quite a while. It was alright, good to play with them, good players.
It was a bit of a baptism of fire as well. You was up against Andros Townsend.
Yeah, that was quite tough, yeah. Sharpness of him was unreal.
How did you find that then, that experience of playing against an England international?
Brilliant experience. I thought I did quite well against him as well.
And was it on an unfamiliar left side for you as well?
No, I played left back a couple of times when I was younger, but majority of my time's been centre back, so it's tough against him. First game for the under 21 as well.
Just move on to talking about your strongest position. You say you're more suited at centre half. Are you quite a versatile defender?
Yeah, I can play left back, could probably play right centre back as well.
But you'd say you're a centre half more than anything though?
Yeah, probably most likely to play the majority of my games there.
What would you say is the strongest part of your game then?
Reading the game read the game quite well, to be fair. My passing's long distance and shorts very good as well, to be fair.
Fantastic. And how have you found the actual transition of joining a Premier League club? You've moved from Bury, you're now an Everton player. How do you find the surroundings here?
The facilities are better than what it was at Bury. And it's been just amazing thinking. A couple of weeks ago I was playing a League One side, now come here to a Premiership club. Just getting round it.
Snodsy's a 17-year-old boy, Yorkshire lad, grounded boy seemingly, come from Bury. That's part and parcel of adapting to a Premier League football club, is it? Dealing with the media and doing those sort of interviews.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I know if you'd have put me in front of a camera at 17, I was captain of Doncaster at 18, so I had to deal with radio more than obviously TV. But it would have been really difficult, Daz, and I felt so sorry for him there. You could see he was nervous, but when he's on a football field, he's a totally different character. It's different being in front of a camera to being on a football field, because that's where he's confident. You just listen to him there. He can play left back, he can play right centre back, he said. He said he can play anywhere, and then he said his passing's good. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. He'll do well, Yorkshireman. Always do well. Always do well at Everton.
A young footballer, 17 years of age. He's marked Andros Townsend, who's an England international, totally unfazed, but they don't like sitting in front of a camera. Why is that?
Yeah, because you're out of your comfort zone. You are. It's like at golf, Daz. I bring golf into it because I'm a respectable golfer. But if there's anybody more than 8 people watching me on a tee, I'm as nervous as a kitten. I'm thinking, oh, please just sit it straight. Get me on a football field in front of 80, 90,000 or whatever, full house at Goodison Park. Love it. Can't get enough in it for me because you're confident in your own ability. And I'm sure once he settles in and he gets to know his teammates, he'll be able to do interviews, no problem whatsoever. But first and foremost, he's a footballer. And if he impresses me on that football field, that's all I bother about.
Well, let's hope there's plenty more to come interview-wise from Matty Foulds. It'll mean he's doing rather well. We're going to take another quick break now, but when we come back, we'll shift our focus from the stars of the future to one of our finest players of the 1970s. Our big interview this week is with Dave Thomas. And in part 3, by the way, we'll also squeeze in an exclusive chat with our brand new Academy Director, so don't go away. Welcome back to part 3 of this week's Everton Show. We've actually got 2 big interviews for you this week. And our first one is with Dave Thomas, the winger who never wore shin pads, always wore moulded stud boots and hardly ever left any footprints in the snow. Dave was back at Goodison Park recently to boost his fundraising efforts for the British Guide Dog Association, an organisation that Dave, having sadly been diagnosed with glaucoma last year, is himself going to need.
I'm just short of 3 years in. It's just always great to come back. It's just, there's something about the place, and they're so good with the ex-players. It is a special club.
And you look at those 2 seasons you was here, the team finished 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, a little bit, you know, I mean, that would have been great, wouldn't it, today? In the Champions League would have been, but just maybe could have pushed on a little bit further. But like everything in football, you're only as good as your last game or as good as your last season. Then sadly the team, Latch went, and teams split up, don't they? So, but it's just a great club and well organised. It's not just about the football. I always think of my wife when we're looking for houses. We live near a little village called Dalton near Parbold, and the club was so professional. They took my wife to look at houses, and it was just because they always say as a footballer, if you keep your wives or your partners happy, the players are always happy.
I'm sure you've been asked about it many times today already. What was it like playing alongside Bob Latchford?
Well, Bob was a goal scorer, wasn't he? And we had, you know, my friend, bless him, Jimmy Pearce, my mentor today. He's been great, and Jim was a good player. And Duncan, but Bob was a goal scorer. Technically outside the box, you know, not a Lionel Messi, but when he was in that box, he had that strength and that bravery to get goals. He was strong, and he come alive. In fact, he was a bit like the Gerd Muller of the World Cup. Muller was the same, but he used to come alive, and the ball went in, and he'd attack it, and he'd get it off his backside, off his knees. But it doesn't matter how he scored goals, does it? He was a good goal scorer. Good player, great player.
So for someone like yourself, a winger, he's the perfect striker.
Well, it worked for us, and I think I had that telepathy that I'd go down the wing, and not saying all the time, but he always had. Every time I'd go, he nearly, not 100%, but most of the time I got a cross in. So if he anticipated the cross, and it just by coincidence, he could read it, and as I say, he got majority of the goals were from my crosses. Yeah.
How would you like to have played alongside the current Blues target man, Romelu Lukaku?
Well, again, very similar. I think maybe, you've got the boy Delafeu, but he's having a great season, the boy. And again, you know, it's the greatest ball in football, isn't it? The cross, isn't it? Big lad, attack it. And it's a dying art. You don't see the wingers now, what I call go the hard way. They don't go to the byline. They come inside, and as Paul Scholes about like Man United, it's tippy-tappy stuff. There's nothing, the Ryan Giggses and people, you know, exciting.
Tell us a bit about your visit to Goodison today, then, Dave.
My visit today, it's been, you know, pardon me if I get emotional, it's raising funds for guide dogs, registered blind. But
you've raised a fantastic amount of money.
Amazing. Through fans, people, friends, it's been amazing. Over £10,000 just in, and that's touching the tip of the iceberg, because I've got all these Premier League football shirts we're going to auction. It's just going on and on and on. It's been an emotional roller coaster for me.
And the support of the Everton fans, have they bought into this project?
Unbelievable. I got the Just Giving page on the internet, and some of the comments from the Everton fans has just blown me away. Needless to say, very emotional guy. Yeah.
It sounds like the Everton fans have still got a great rapport with you. We see you here now signing autographs. The fans still want to know about you and talk about it to you.
I just can't, you know, it's so emotional. And people have come, they've shook my hand, and they've contributed to all going to the guide dogs, because it changes people's lives.
So that was a very emotional piece of film there with Dave Thomas. You've met Dave a few times.
Yeah, I met him a week just before Christmas, Daz, and he got very emotional then. And to be fair, so did I. We're very touching talking to him. Great fella, fantastic player. I remember watching him several times, and with his socks rolled down, muddy pitches, in his moulded boots, and I was thinking, how does he keep his balance on a pitch like that? But yeah, he was a fantastic player. And I used to think players played with the socks down were a bit flash and a bit. I used to try and kick people like that, but I wouldn't have got near this fella. He was great. He got great trickery, good pace, and delivered great balls in, as he said, for Big Bob Latchford, who used to get on the end of them.
And just for the benefit of our younger viewers, Dave Thomas wore moulded boots on old pitches, not the billiard tables they've got now.
No, can you imagine him on pitches today? His balance would be fantastic, yeah. So the pitches that they played on and in the 70s and 80s were nothing like they are today, and he was just a fantastic player and a great man.
You must have played with some decent wingers in your time, Snods?
Yeah, especially when I came to Everton. I wouldn't really class them as wingers. I'd class them as wide midfield players in Trevor Stephen and Kevin Sheedy. Fantastic players. Trevor Stephen, yeah, perhaps had the ability to go by players, whereas Sheeds, he couldn't go by players. He got no pace, but by what a left foot. He could put that ball anywhere with that left foot. I know he'll be watching as well, so I've got to give him a good mention. But great players. But also I played with Peter Beagrie and Pat Nevin, who were two out-and-out wingers. Great ability, used to go by players. Beagers used to be a little bit frustrating, not putting it in. Sharper used to not be happy a couple of times, but ability-wise to go by players, them two had it all.
It's a dying art, isn't it, crossing a football?
It is a dying art. You don't see too many wingers now in the modern game, but when you do, it excites you, and that's why we've got Jerry Delafeu, who excites our fans.
He's magic, you know. Well, forward thinking and not being afraid of trying something different have always been part of the decision making at Everton Football Club, and that certainly applies to the appointment of our second interviewee in this section of the show. Dr. Peter Vint, the new academy director down at Finch Farm, has a sports but not a football background, so let's find out a little bit more about him.
I'm absolutely excited to be here. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just excited to be on the ground.
What did you know of Everton and our academy?
Well, I've known the club for some time. They clearly have a great reputation. Popularity of football, of soccer is growing in the United States. It's much easier to follow teams now than ever before. Clearly, the reputation of the academy and delivering players through the academy to the first teams and others throughout Europe are just outstanding and very well regarded.
And what's your background?
I'm a sports scientist by training. I have a PhD in an area called biomechanics. I've done postdoctoral work in the areas of motor control and skill acquisition. I've been an academic. I was a university professor. I worked in human factors industry for years as a research scientist and then went on to start my own business. I was founded by the United States Olympic Committee in 2005 and have been with that organization for 10 years prior to my arrival here.
Roberto called it a groundbreaking appointment, so there's a little bit of excitement about it.
Well, I think it's exciting, and quite honestly, I would leave it to Everton to have the courage to reach out and do a worldwide search for somebody who could come in and bring new ideas, but also respect and complement the terrific work that's been done by the Academy historically.
And how did the appointment come about?
Interestingly, I was found by professional colleagues through network connections. I was introduced through the process and asked if I was interested, and of course with the reputation of not only the club but the academy, it was something that I've been interested in for some time in terms of the areas of athlete development and certainly working in football. And through the process, it was just a very exciting journey, meeting with Tim Devine originally, with Robert Elstone. For the initial interviews, I felt very comfortable. I was very much myself, and ultimately getting the chance to meet with Robert and Roberto again here at Finch Farm. It was an excellent process overall, and I was really pleased that they had the courage, I think, to reach out and explore a new person with different ways of thinking from a different environment, and I'm excited to get it all off and running.
And now that you're here, what will the first few months entail?
Learning how to drive on the other side of the road, for sure, on the other side of a car, but I had a meeting with staff this morning, and what I laid out to them was a promise that I'm here to first understand what it is that has made the academy so exceptional in the past. I want to hear their perspectives on what goes well, where there are opportunities to help not only themselves develop as more complete and more professional coaches, but ultimately with the aim of helping more and more of these young footballers reach their dreams of reaching first-team football.
And in terms of longer term, what do you hope to achieve whilst you're at Everton?
Well, that's a great question, and quite honestly, I think in my second day here, that's a bit tricky to answer, but obviously I would love to leave behind a legacy that is even at a higher regard than it is today. Certainly maintaining its level of excellence, continuing to provide the pathway and the growth and the development for these young footballers is absolutely at the core of my vision here.
So I guess having a first team manager who believes so much in youth development is only going to be beneficial.
Well, I think it's instrumental. In the end, a first team manager who welcomes and encourages and facilitates to the extent that Roberto does players coming through academy to reach first team is quite honestly, I think, a key to all of it. And I think Everton's reputation of delivering those players through the first team, as well as providing other opportunities in professional football, really speaks of itself and speaks of the characteristics and quality of the coaches and staff that surround the athletes here.
Snods, by his own admission, Peter hasn't got a football background, so it's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is. We met him yesterday, Daz, myself, Graham Stewart, Graham Sharp and yourself, and we had a spot of lunch with him. And I think it's good that he wants to meet different people within the club. He's got some very interesting thoughts. I think it's an ambitious move from the club, an ambitious move from himself as well, to give up what he got in America, to come over here to Everton Football Club. But he wants to be a success, and hopefully he will be a success.
It's interesting bringing other sporting backgrounds into football. You often find that professional footballers are also good at other sports. As a Yorkshireman, You must have been half a cricketer at one point.
Yeah, I weren't bad at cricket, to be quite honest. So are most of the England players at minute at the cricket, all from Yorkshire. But I think a sportsman's got a good eye for a ball, no matter what he plays, cricket, squash, obviously football. So, I was half decent.
Could have been Lords instead of Goodison Park, couldn't it, for young Snowden? And that's just about it for part 3. In the final segment of this week's show, we'll hear from Graham Stewart. There's no escaping him, is there? Phil Jagielka and our assistant manager, Graham Jones. Welcome back to the fourth and final part of this week's Everton Show, and I bet you're wondering what this is all about. Well, Everton have never met Dagenham and Redbridge before, but Charlton Athletic have. The relevance? Well, Charlton were in the Premier League, Dagenham and Redbridge were non-league, Graham Stewart was in the Charlton Athletic side, and it needed a replay for Charlton to get through.
It was a scary time, actually, because we thankfully got an 86th minute equaliser in the first
Charlton,
leg.
obviously.
For Charlton, yeah, obviously for Charlton. And fortunately, we then went on and won the replay. A certain Sean Newton scored with about 2 minutes of extra time being played, I think.
What was the difference between the two games then?
I played in the second one. No, I missed the first one. I can't remember whether I was suspended or injured or what have you, but I made it back for the return leg at Dagenham and Redbridge, and we scrambled through somehow. You need that little bit of luck sometimes. We've experienced that ourselves when we had a tricky tie at Bristol City the year we won it in '95.
Charlton Athletic were a Premier League side. Dagenham and Redbridge were a non-league side. So in all seriousness, what did go wrong? Did they just park the bus?
I think they did. I mean, we're talking years and years ago, and I've got the worst memory in Britain, so it's difficult to think back that far. But you know, sometimes you get the sides come along. They've got nothing to lose. It's their FA Cup final in some respects, coming to a Premier League ground, and we're going to have to guard against that on Saturday, obviously, because you know, they'll come along. They'll enjoy coming to Goodison Park and just the euphoria of playing at a place like that. You know, so that's the one thing we're going to have to guard against.
I guess what happened then, and what could potentially happen at the weekend, is that the longer the game goes on and the teams are level, the lower league side will take confidence.
Of course they do. I mean, you know, they know how dangerous we can be as a football side, especially in forward areas. You know, and that's the difference between the lower league sides and the top sides. You know, they're more clinical, and we've got to make sure that we can get ourselves ahead early in the game and alleviate any possible nerves and don't give them any chance to, you know, get their confidence levels up.
Diamond kept that very quiet. He never told me that he was part of a Charlton Athletic squad that needed a replay to beat Dagenham and Redbridge.
I tell you what, listening to his interview, Dad, he's saved so many clubs, hasn't he? He saved us in '94 against Wimbledon, and he saved Charlton against Dagenham in an FA Cup replay. I tell you what, hail thee, old Graham. But and he gets on about his hair as well. It's the same style. His hair, the same.
There's a slight trim there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, but no, he's going on about how difficult it is to play against non-league sides and lower opposition, and it is, because I played for Doncaster against Everton, and the buzz from when that draw is made for a lower league team to come to a Premier League club is fantastic. The fans are all up for it, the players are certainly up for it, and it can be difficult. But I'm looking at Dagenham's league performances this season. Surely we shouldn't have a problem.
We should have enough, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what team Roberto will select on Saturday afternoon, of course, against the League Two strugglers, but it's fairly safe to assume that the boss will want to give his skipper a little bit of game time. Phil Jagielka hasn't been involved since limping away from the Emirates back in October, but he's been on the bench for the last two games and he's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, obviously on the bench against Spurs, not had too many training sessions yet, but you know, it's a busy time of the year, especially with still being in a cup and things. It's pretty much a game every 3 days now for the remainder of the month, so it's nice to be back in the mix.
How's the last few weeks been then? Have you been stepping it up, doing more and more out on the pitches?
Yeah, doing as much as I can. Obviously it's difficult training on your own, and the boys have obviously had a really busy schedule and not many lads out there to train with, obviously with the way the schedule has been, but just trying to get back involved now and just trying to get as much training time and obviously trying to get a little bit of game time as and when I can.
Just take you back to the Arsenal game a couple of months ago when you suffered your injury. Was you fearing the worst at that moment in time when it happened?
Yeah, definitely. It's never nice when you obviously feel things sort of pop in your knee, and you know, it's a knee I've had an operation on before, so it wasn't really nice, but thankfully the diagnostic wasn't too bad, and say it's been a while, it's been too long, but it could have been a lot worse.
The manager has said that it's looking like you'll play your first 90 minutes against Dagenham on Saturday. How do you see that cup tie? What do you make of that draw against the League Two opponents at Goodison?
You always want a home tie, and obviously if you get one against a team from a lower division, it is seen as a good draw. But you know, they're always tricky. Everyone throws out the banana skin and things like that. I'm sure the manager will change the squad around with how busy it's been. We've got a lot of good players, a lot of good international players that aren't getting games at the moment. So it'll be important that we get a few 90 minutes between us, and you know, make that competition for place a little bit tougher for the manager to select. Obviously, in the latter part of the cup and the league.
Is it an always exciting time when you start out on the FA Cup journey every year?
Yeah, definitely. It's something to look forward to. It was nice, obviously, with the League Cup again. It was a difficult start. Obviously, we made it even more difficult with the early goals and things that we conceded. But it's been an exciting run so far, and we want to mirror that in the FA Cup. It's always nice to take the fans to different places, and obviously, the closer we can get to Wembley, the better.
Snod, you and I have mentioned many times on this programme and on the radio that Ramiro Funes Mori and John Stones have done really well, but all Evertonians will be delighted that he's got the boots back on.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He's been out now for many weeks. We've conceded plenty of goals, but I'm not putting that down totally to the defence. I'm really not. But he's an influential player. He's the skipper. He's vocal. He's been outstanding for the last 2 years for me in an Everton shirt. So it's important that we do get him back. And I'm sorry, somebody's got to miss out, but you do play your best players, and I think Phil Jagielka is one of our best players.
How important is it? You've played in defence in the Premier League. How important is it to have an organiser, a really experienced, good organiser amongst your back four?
Very much so. I know when I first went back to right back, I'd never played there before, so I had to learn how to play as full back. I'd got two players alongside me, Dave Watson and Kevin Ratcliffe, who were very vocal, tell me where to go, when to push on, when to drop. So I learnt the position quite easy, and it's so important that you get an experienced player that can talk in that middle of the defence, and he can orchestrate everybody around him, the full-backs, the midfield players, and Jags is definitely a good talker on the pitch.
He's very humble about France and the Euros next summer, but he'll be there, won't he?
I would like to think so. I think he's a top-class defender, top-class lad, and he should be on that plane.
He'll be nailed on, surely. Well, it's always a pleasure to hear from Graham Jones on the Everton Show. Roberto's right-hand man always speaks well about the game, and he's always engaging company. We spoke to Graham after Wednesday's game against Manchester City to get his take on the FA Cup third-round clash with Dagenham and Redbridge at the weekend.
We know they play a back three, and we know the competitive John Still's teams have been throughout the years at Barnet and at Luton and his time at Dagenham, so all that preparation really gets into full flow tomorrow.
When the balls come out of the hat and you know you've got one of two teams, do the wheels go into motion to gather as much information as possible as soon as possible?
Yeah, but without losing focus on a semi-final of the League Cup, which is important. I don't think you can concentrate on two things at once. You need to focus on this game first, but from tomorrow all focus will be on Dagenham.
What are the potential pitfalls or things you have to look out for when it's a lower league opposition?
Well, I think you'll see them playing at a higher tempo than probably they normally would. League Two sides are competitive no matter what. There's 11 human beings out there, and our quality will only show if we match their intensity and their work rate and their commitment. So the game doesn't change. You know, we've still got to get the best out of our players. What 11 starts on Saturday.
It's a hectic schedule at the moment. Is it times like this when the squad and the depth of it comes into play as well?
Yeah, and we've got a good squad, and everybody will be needed. I mean, it's an important period. We've obviously got the league game at Manchester City next Wednesday, and then we'll go to Chelsea with a little break. But you know how it is at this football club. We need to try and win every game.
And is the FA Cup special to you personally?
Yeah, I would like to go back. Obviously, we've won it, which was an incredible achievement, but it was soured with a relegation. And I think when I look back at that time, we got relegated because we won the FA Cup, and a squad that you've just spoke about couldn't cope with both competitions. Well, we can at Everton, and I'd like to go back and like to enjoy the experience rather than preparing for a relegation game 3 days later, as we did 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago now. So yeah, it's a great competition. I'd love nothing more to win it with Everton.
It's a magical day, isn't it? FA Cup third round day, and Everton versus Dagenham could be a typical cup tie. What will Dagenham's mindset be?
Well, I've met John Still a few times. John Doolan, who works for the academy, played under him at Barnet and said he was the best manager he's ever worked under. Yeah, so he sets his teams up. They'll be aggressive. They'll want to play football, but they'll work exceptionally hard. And he'll be saying, "Hey, boys, it's a great opportunity for you. You're in the shop window. Go out and enjoy it, but let's not go and just roll over." It's 11v11 on a football pitch, and he'll. We've got too much quality, I hope, and too much ability on that pitch to turn Dagenham over. But it might be difficult for 20, 25 minutes, a little bit frustrating, but hopefully once we get the first goal, then we can go on and win the game comfortably. But let's not take anything out. They're a professional outfit. They'll come here and they'll give a good account of themselves. The fans will come down, enjoy the day, they'll make some noise, and they'll be hoping for an upset, either a win or especially taken back to Dagenham, which we do not want. We want a victory.
An early goal would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, early goal, and then pressure will be on Dagenham not to concede again, but hopefully we'll go on and win the tie.
FA Cup third rounder, you can't whack it. And that's it for another Everton show. What a week it's been, and the magic of the cup to come, as we say, at the weekend. 3 games in 6 days in 3 different competitions, all at Goodison Park. Certainly makes for a challenging schedule, but it's great, it's exciting, and there's much to be positive about. My thanks to Snods for joining us this week. A big thanks to you for watching, and try not to get too carried away by the thought of Wembley just yet. We'll see you next week.